It's last week. Okay. Oh, that's not right. Here we go. Good morning. Good morning. There we go. Hello, Keegan, Ronnie. How are we doing today? Doing well? United Red, Frank, Sean, Jumbo, Jimbo, brother, Kenny, Ed. Thank you, my friends, my members, and I think we'll have a few more from those gifts from the last time. There's 10 of them or something. Hello, everyone. Finn, Ryan, Sharon. Yeah, I'm good. Mateus. I've just had a busy week, a long week with the Oh man, with the holidays coming up and all that, I've got one more week of work. So just trying to get everything done before the holidays because I know it sounds glamorous to get 2 weeks off for like holidays, but when you run and own a business, they're not. Sometimes it's almost more stressful. They're trying to get everything done in that time, and you don't really have that time off. And anyway, I need a haircut as well. Yes, I'll do my videos in my normal schedule. I will be there in the morning. Oh, Rush, 10 memberships. Holy shit. Wow. That's awesome, man. Wow, look at all those people. Thank you, Rushmano. That's again incredibly kind. Incredibly kind. That's wild. Yeah, I mean, thank you so much for that. Again, I didn't expect that. I didn't expect that last time. I didn't expect it now. Yeah, but appreciate that. And 10 of you, yeah, you got a membership now, and those cool little logos and green names. I recognize some of you, so yeah. Wow, thank you. Hello, but yeah, anyway, yeah, appreciate all of that. Appreciate all of that. Appreciate all of you for being here. But yeah, just trying to get through work for the week, and I have a haircut later because my hair is impossible to manage at the length, and when it gets this long and thick, even if I should Rush, what that's like $100. Good Lord. Honestly, man, thank you. That's crazy. Actually, I don't know if it's $100, but it's money. I mean, wow, that's amazing, man. Thank you. There you go, 10 more. Really appreciate it, Rush. Means a lot. Wow, that's awesome. Quiet Anton. Thanks, Rush. You didn't even get a membership yourself. It didn't. You'd think when you gift like 10 that the system would give you one. How do I can't even add it. But yeah, anyway, thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, I didn't even know until not that long ago. Someone reminded me that there was a membership thing, and I had set it up like 2 years ago when I first like created the channel, but wasn't really posting much. And that there was, it has little logos and things. I think everybody I've got as the logos is still at the club at least, or is like a legend of the club. So hopefully that works. But yeah, thank you, Rush, and thanks a lot. It means a lot. Anyway, let's what are we gonna do? What was I gonna do? Let's look at our agenda for today. Review, squad thoughts, Leon, and some of the needs. We're gonna vote. We're gonna yap. Rush might be in. Yes. Nah, no way. With the cost cutting, are they spending money on YouTube on a YouTuber? They'll gift me one sub for Christmas. Cost cutting is hit hard at Ineos right now. Well, I talk about the leaker leaks. Look, sure, I can address this first. First and foremost, that when this came up, like I think it was a week ago, we first started discussing it, and what I said at that time is, look, this isn't something I particularly care about. One, because I know that when it comes to teams and clubs and things like that, there's a lot more that happens for them to get leaks than it is from Twitter. It's one of the things I definitely learned, that there's a lot of money that changes hands for clubs to get access, for people to get access to leaks of stuff. I'm not talking about on Twitter. I'm talking about like at the clubs and in football themselves via betting companies and things like that. I know for a fact that those things happen all the time. So it doesn't particularly bother me in that respect at all. What is more concerning, and I don't think that leaks, a lot of those types of things are stuff that are like, how would I put this? Like, I don't think a lot of these things are intentional anyway. In a lot of instances, there's so many people that learn what the team is. Under Ten Hag, we pick the team sometimes 2 days in advance. In those 2 days, there are probably 50 people, 60 people who learn the team. And then, of course, they talk to family and friends. And then, of course, you end up with like a web, right, of hundreds of people who know. Of course it's going to leak. It's of course it's going to leak. A few hours before the game. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I don't know that the club are so concerned about it. It's been happening for a long, long time. And that's where there's a silliness to some degree of putting it on and blaming everybody. Saying, oh, it's Garnacho, it's Ahmad, it's Garnacho's brother, it's no, wait, actually it's Dallo, or it's fucking Luke Shaw, or it's Dean Henderson, which was a funny joke that we made up a long time ago that unfortunately I think people took seriously because it's been happening for years. The club know it's been happening for years. So it's not anyone, and a lot of those players haven't been here for years. And the players who were here before are not here now. You know what I mean? So it's like it's a unique thing that occurs, and it actually does kind of occur everywhere. A lot of people know about it. I mean, what's really funny is like if you take like Madrid or Spain, I think that their news channels have the team like hours and hours, sometimes days before they talk and promote who's starting. And it's never like a big thing. You know what I mean? Like it's like everybody knows. Like they don't really worry about like who knows who's starting and shit like that. They just it's to some degree why do you need to worry about it? You know what I mean? So in other clubs and other countries and things like that, God, my hair is just awful, a mess. There's nothing. It's not a big deal. It's one of these things. I don't know. I don't particularly care about it, at all. So it's whatever. I think what's, like I said before, I think what's very hypocritical about it is certain people commenting on it when they spend a lot of time and energy hunting down and trying to get those leaks themselves. And then being hypocritical about trying to insinuate problems with some people doing it or some people not doing it or whatever. That I think is extremely hypocritical because, as I said, everybody out there in the United space that has a big voice has 100% spoken with and leaked things from players over the last couple of years. 100%. And they've tried many times to make more connections and get that information and put out team news all the time from players. So, you know, like, come on. Don't be hypocritical about it. That's all I say. I don't, you know, it is what it is. The club know that these things leak. People know that these things leak. They'll deal with it if they see it as a problem. If it becomes a problem, they'll deal with it. I don't think that they can do too much about that. Where I understand where there's concerns is if there's connections between players and people on online that spur attacks against their own teammates. That I think is a problem that the club need to do something about, because that happens. There's very, very odd forced rivalries and ugly atmospheres being created in this way. And I'd be careful from it, you know, like, you know, I've been careful recently in the last few months to make sure that just because, you know, I'm a big, you know, backer of Marcus Rashford, that I don't sit here on Twitter or on YouTube or something and come across like, oh, that means I got to hate Garnacho or something, because I don't get that. I think that's stupid. I think it's irresponsible that people act like that, you know? It's just weird. It's just, I don't think it's necessary. Anyway, but that's all I'm going to say on the matter. I'm not going to get into it too much. I think people should drop it. And I think that people should stop trying to make it a bigger deal than it is, and make it into some drama about certain players and things like that, because it doesn't matter. It really doesn't. And every single person who is in the United content space has leaked things from players that they've spoken with and has searched out leaks of their own. So it is what it is. You know, he who cast the first stone, right? I don't know if that's the saying. I apologize if I messed it up, but whatever. I'm not going to cast the first stone for sure. It's my whole platform is about leaks and things like that. Who cares? Anyway, let's move on. But so are journalists. What are journalists except, you know, leakers with a license? You know, leakers with a degree. It's the same shit. It is what it is. So let's move on to talking about yesterday's match. First, in the Leon and needs section, I'll get to like some of the transfers and things like that. So yeah, we will get to it. Anyway, the review of yesterday. Yesterday was definitely eye-opening for me. Yeah, yesterday was definitely somewhat eye-opening for me. I think that I had a perspective on the game that was really frustrating. I won't go through the whole game, trust me. I had a perspective on the game that was really frustrating, and then I was having a really hard time feeling any kind of positivity. Even like when we evened the goal up, I was like, and it wasn't just because we won. It was before the end, before we scored that second goal. I started to think, hang on a second. I started to change my mind on how I viewed what we were seeing from the game, right? And what I started to really gather was that it was kind of going in the end how I had expected in the first place. And that, you know, when we you know, the games against Bodo and Everton were a bit of a mirage in summer. So more Everton than anything was a bit of a mirage that we get all hyped up in. And then we realized we're not actually that good yet. But it was going how I thought it was going to go, which is that we would start to become a very good defensive team. And we'd be a very bad offensive team. Because for how many years has it been, honestly, guys? Like, Ten Hag, we were a transition team that had a deep block. Under Solskjaer, we were a transition team that had a deep block. And the moment he tried to move it up, it failed so badly that he got sacked. The moment we tried to play a more progressive style, when Ronaldo and such came in, he got sacked. Jose switched, where in his first season, I think we were a little more dominating, actually. In his second season, he started to move it deeper and deeper and deeper, and then got sacked. We've been a deep block transition-based team primarily for 7 years. That means every single player at this club has only ever played in a transition style team, right? It's in this team, and I mean every single player at this club, right? The closest to maybe who haven't for United players in terms of at United, maybe the only players who haven't would be, of course, the new players. Manuel Ugarte, who looks great in the system. De Ligt, who looks very good. Mazraoui, who looks very good. Lenny Yoro, who we've only seen very little. And Joshua Zirkzee, who, I'll give him this. He was doing the right things for how we wanted to play. Just not well. Not well at all. Very poorly, right? But for a lot of players, it's not that you have to get rid of them. It's that they haven't ever really been coached in this, especially in attack. Especially in attack. You know what I mean? And I'm saying the guys who mostly played at United, but you're right. Like Ahmad played in a different Sunderland team where he got incredible experience playing in a very aggressive style of play. You know? I think Dallow's struggling so much because of this. A good point. He was so ingrained as a key part of this, like, inverted fullback, driving to the midfield from deep to help progress it through the second, third, making those runs off of the back to try to just get in behind in one shot. Like, he is lost in how to play this system properly. You know, and it's concerning. And look, you're right. Amar wasn't always a deep block, but it was heavily transition based, and we struggled under Ollie for the same reasons, right? We did. We struggled under Ollie for the same reasons, though. We could not break teams down. We did not get our patterns right in attack. That was the biggest issue, and it seemed like we never persisted with trying to coach those patterns in for how to break down deep blocks and how to attack when we have a lot of possession of the ball. Because I agree with you. There was times where we started to dominate play under Solskjaer, but we never solved that problem. We never coached into being anything but a transition team. We looked a lot better as a transition team than we did as a team dominating possession. And so it's going kind of how I definitely thought it was going to go, which is we would struggle to score. And we saw it in the first half. Too much forcing it, very little movement in the final third, very little attack in the final third. Just everybody standing behind the ball, right? Everybody behind the ball, you know? Everybody was behind the ball. You'd see we'd get to the final third and the ball would be here. And like every player's making a line. There's no runs, there's no movements, there's no everything. You know, the closest we got to it under Ollie was Cavani, because Cavani's probably historically one of the best strikers in history in terms of his movement. Unbelievable player in terms of his intelligence of movement as a striker was Cavani. And so sometimes during that season when he was, during the lockdown season, he alone made us look so much better in attack simply because of that movement, because he was like the only player who really knew how to manipulate a defense and move, and when you were dominating possession to get into the right spaces and just constant running, moving, energy, moving, going, confusing the center backs, doing the things you need a striker to do. And, and so we just haven't had that. We haven't had that, and everybody was sitting behind the ball and we were just forcing it, and we was forcing it. And I thought it was a really, really poor half. I thought that for sure. There was a lot of players who look like, they're not, I can't sit on them in this system. But it's going to take time to fix this. It is. That's what's going to take time. It's going to take us time to become a good attacking team. No doubt about it. But defensively, we were excellent. And we've been excellent when you think about it. Against Bodo Glimt, it was 2 little errors. Otherwise, we really didn't allow anything. But it was just errors, like straight up errors that gave up the goals. Against Forest, it was just individual errors, right? It was pure individual errors that cost us the goals. Yesterday, same thing. One individual error that cost us the goal. Otherwise, we didn't concede anything. So defensively, the system is propping us up. It's starting to give us possession. It's starting to give us control. It's starting to give us defensive solidity. But we need to learn how to attack. And that's what I think Amarim said as well. What was the comment he made? I put it under my tweet. He said, we are improving some details. We controlled the transitions. We were aggressive when losing the ball. We need time to work in possession. This team needs to spend a lot of time near the opposition goal. That's the point, right? We need to spend a lot of time near the opposition goal. We need time to work in possession because that's our problem. It's in possession that's the problem. Defensively, he's already solved a lot of our problems. And he did the same at Sporting, to be fair. And I think I mentioned this before he came in, that at Sporting, he fixed the defense first. And they got really, really good defensively. And the scoring goals came later. But they got really good defensively. And that's important. Without being a deep block team, they got good defensively. I think that's an important delineation as well. So that leads me to my squad thoughts. And they've changed a bit. They've evolved a bit. And on who we can rely on. Some of them are not surprises, right? Rasmus Højlund, I thought, would be probably the biggest beneficiary of Amarim coming in, and so far that looks right. He's very much turning him into his Gyökeres. Amarim has an incredible knack with these strikers, and Rasmus is becoming a really good player. He's getting easy goals too. Remember that. That's what's so important to me. Easy goals. He's had 2 tap-ins in 2 games in a row. I want easy goals from my striker, man, so badly. When is the last time we ever score easy goals? You know what I mean? Like little rebounds, little cutbacks, easy goals, tap-ins. Like, and he could do better. He missed one from Bruno, you know, all of that. But yeah, easy goals. That's what I want out of a striker. So Rasmus looks great. I think at the back, you've got a few players that you could rely on there. You know, Mazraoui, I think Yoro for sure will be fine there. De Ligt, Maguire, again, I'll say Maguire. As I said, you know, before the last game, I told you that Maguire's passing would be valuable, and De Ligt's passing was so slow in that Forest game, so slow. And I think De Ligt's a good player. And I think he's a player that I'd be happy to have him in the back three very often. But that gap between De Ligt and Maguire isn't that big. It maybe not even there at all. And Maguire's a much better progressor of the ball. And Amarim specifically commented on that we were too slow playing it out from the back, lacking in confidence there. We didn't have that problem with Maguire against Arsenal. We were better in that respect. And that's why I think he will value Maguire. And why I think it's quite possible Maguire will start against City. His passing out the back is simply better. It's faster. It's more confident. He's more dynamic with it than De Ligt at this point in time, and we may need that. Not to say we shouldn't buy more center backs, because we do, but you know, Yoro, De Ligt, Maguire, Mazraoui, and maybe Lissandro. I still have concerns. Lissandro was really bad against Forest. He was much better yesterday. But I still have concerns. I think that you know, I'm not sure about starters. Yoro might be the only starter quality center back we have, like consistently. So I know we need a couple there. But I think we've got good players. But flawed players at the back. That's how I would put it. De Ligt is flawed. Maguire is flawed. Lissandro is flawed, but they're good players. We need probably 2 starter levels long term. Would you all agree with that? Do you think we could use 2 starters where guys like De Ligt, Maguire, Martinez are good rotational players? Because that's what I think. That's how I see it. That's what I think is the truth of it, if we're looking at it bluntly. So yeah, that's what I think. And then moving on kind of beyond that. But yeah, look, they're good players though. We've got some good players there. We can see defensively we are improving, right? But I don't think they're the top priorities, but they are a priority. At least one, I think, is priority. At least one. We need a wingback so bad. We were so much better when we switched, even with Anthony coming on just to get a left footer on the right. We were so much better instantly, right? And maybe that was just because Dallo was so bad, but we definitely are. This system works better with an inverted right wing back, who is an attacker. We look much better with wing backs as wingers than as fullbacks. We definitely do. We just look better with wingers who are wing backs rather than fullbacks who are wing backs. Now, Anthony was still poor, okay? He was still poor, but his fit made the team way better. It was crazy to see it. It blew my mind. It blew my mind that Anthony came in and made us look better simply because he was a better fit. Even though, again, I think it was a really poor performance from him. He kept heading the ball into the stands and shooting and all that. But the idea was there. So I'll give him some credit because just his fit helped us. Just his fit helped us there. Same as if Ahmad had been there, right? If Ahmad was there, we would have seen better than that. So, yes. So I think getting Quenda, so we have Quenda and Ahmad for that position, would be a priority, right? On the left side, we for sure need somebody. We just do. We have to have somebody. We've got to get somebody. There's just no doubt. We have to. We have to get a left-sided person. So we're getting Leon. But regardless, I'll go over to the transfers thing in a second. But yeah, I think we have some good center backs. I think we have Ahmad and Mazraoui who could play at wing back or full back. Yeah, Jeff, exactly that. I think Menu and Ugarte are only good midfielders for the system. I think they're the only two who can play deep that we have. Everybody, our midfield looked so bad yesterday. It was so bad. It was just awful. Bruno deep is bad. The closer he gets to goal, the much better he performs, for sure. He was really bad for me deep. He was just terrible for me. Every time he was in a deep position, he lost the ball so dangerously, so dramatically, and so problematically, and kept messing the play up. And the same goes for Casemiro. The second Manuel Ugarte came on, it was like instant control of the game in a very different way. Instantly solved a bunch of problems, and it's been like that. I think that Kabi and Ugarte are the only two midfielders who can play deep for us in this system. So yeah, that's an issue. But I think we have those two. And I think they're both good enough to be starters on this team, for sure. And they're both young and will get better and better as well. But Ugarte was our best player against Forest. He's probably been consistently one of our best players since Amram has come in when he's played. And he was starting before that, even under Van Nistelrooy. He had a bunch of really good games too. So, he's getting better and better. In the attack, I really only think Højlund. I'm unconvinced by any of our players we've played at 10. Rashford, I think his first half was the worst I've seen at him at United, which is really sad. But I think it was the worst half he's played at United. Bruno, it does better there, for sure. He does better there, to be fair. He does better there. Mount has shown some promising signs. He needs to finish his chances, but his movement is tops. He's one of the players who looks like he can get it in the system, that he gets the ideas. Ahmad could be there if we had another right wing back of his quality, but for now, I think he's more influential at right wing back. So with the 10s is a problem because I think Rashford was really poor, and I don't think Garnacho has been good either. So we don't have convincing players there as of yet. So I would say we've got good starting midfielders. We've got decent back line, poor at left wing back, and good at striker. And beyond that, we've got questions, right? But we'll keep it going. So that's where it comes into Leon and needs, okay? So signing Diego Leon obviously gives us a left back that we could need. From all accounts, he's a very athletic, beast. Now, we saw Garnacho play at left wing back finally yesterday, which I've been hoping for. And I think that it's an idea. I think it's an idea. I think it's an idea to keep. I think his final third is where he struggles the most. Excuse me. I think his final third is where he struggles the most. But again, I think he has good qualities that can help him for carrying it out from the back, through the middle thirds, all of that. But yeah, obviously this is a huge area of priority, this left wing back, as we know. So Leon will join in summer. We definitely need a another one, probably another top level one, on the left side. We need that as an urgent thing. I think we need a midfielder urgently because we only have two. Like if I were to give my two top priorities, it would be that left back and a midfielder, because I think those are we can't rotate in the midfield. It looks so bad when we rotate in the midfield. You know, when it does. It looks so bad. We can rotate elsewhere and it's kind of okay. We can't rotate in the midfield. So left back and a midfielder would be my two top needs that I think we certainly have, because I don't think we can keep playing Bruno deep for sure. I really don't. Then I think a left center back, because we've seen Lissandro get burned in the Premier League and in big games over and over now recently. I think we need somebody big and pacey there. Now, Mazraoui could do that for now, but I think that would be my third priority. And then I'm still questioning whether we get a 10 next, because it really depends on if Bruno and Mount can kind of take hold of this and be starting quality, because they're both, in terms of quality of player, they're both good enough. In terms of whether they can perform to the quality necessary in the system, I think they're good enough. I don't know. We don't know yet whether they're good enough. Don't you think that everywhere in rotate looks bad because we're so inconsistent with the lineup? Hard to build. Yeah, and I think that will change soon. But I think the problem is in the midfield, for example, we don't have players to rotate. That's why Bruno has to come deep. So I'm just not sure. Tchouaméni, I would take Tchouaméni. Yeah, I would take him as one of the sixes for sure. I really would. But yeah, I would say left back, midfield, left back, which we are solving, left center back and midfield are my top three. And then I would try to figure out the attack. Because if you do that, it will help you keep Bruno in the front three. And then we would have to see. And then you sell. You know, if Garnacho or Rashford isn't performing, you sell. Just is what it is, you know, and you buy with the money you get from them. Both would drive huge profits. Obviously, I think Rashford would be a more beneficial sale financially, but whoever's performing, and if neither does, just sell both. We've got to start selling. You know, you could spend enormous amounts of money if you sold both of them if neither of them can perform. You know what I mean? I'm not saying I want to at all. I would wish they would both become, you know, great performers in this team. I really do. But if they can't, then we sell them both and sell them both, and you get massive profit and wages to sign players. It is what it is. But look, I'm all for, you know, selling off a lot of the big players and you know, buying young. You know, yeah, I know Garnacho's young. I'm not saying it's like finished or something like that, but I'm just saying, like, either way, players got to perform. You know, that's all. And anybody who isn't can go. So left back, midfielder, center back, and then at least 110, maybe a striker, depending on, of course, Xerxes and someone like that. So there's a lot to do. But we could sell players. You know, if we can move Casemiro, if we can move, you know, when Eriksen goes, if we can move Evans, Lindelof, if we can, and then if we're ruthless and we let go of a forward, Rashford or Garnacho, we've got money. We will let us spend quite a bit this summer. And so I think we can address what we need to address. We've been over a lot of the names that they're still looking at as well. Yeah. But I do think we need a more defensive midfielder more than we need a Kabi, an all-rounder, potentially. Yeah. I'm not sure though. What about McGuire? I think McGuire staying another season to be a backup, to be rotation is a good idea. I think it's a good idea. Because we're going to lose Lindelof and Evans. So it would be problematic to have to sign 3 center backs, I think. When you have a player of McGuire's quality who could stay for another year, then solve it the following year or give us time to get one of the academy guys up to that level. That's what I would say. Yeah. Who might be that defensive midfield signing? I'm not sure, but good point. Richie Kone coming through, similar to Ugarte. Yes, he is a player who's like a fringe first teamer, who hopefully by the end of the year will be training with the first team and then could get in. Yeah. Yeah. But when you look at these guys like Leon, I could see us. He is a player. Kone is a player who could be a defensive midfielder, though, for sure. Similar in some ways in that respect. I think that's fair. Like he could play the same role, even if he's not the same player. He certainly can. And I think that's an interesting concept, though, because you look at like the Kone, Cheeto, Obi Martin, and Diego Leon signings, and you think, we could solve problems with things like that, right? If we sign like where it looks like we need 2 players, right? Where it looks like we need backups, I'd rather us go young and not too young, but like Leon is somebody who could get into the first team as a backup left back. Kone could get into the first team as a backup 6 later. Have a good one, Jeff. Cheeto could probably needs to move up to the next level at some point here. How big and developed he is physically. So perhaps you sign an attacker. With all these attackers that we have, you sign another young player, an Ahmad type, like how he was signed, that could come into there. Perhaps in the midfield, you sign one who's kind of more ready and one and you use Kone as the other one. Perhaps you sign one top center back that could get in there and one young developing talent. You know what I mean? And I think that'll be probably a blend, right? I think that'll probably be the blend of how we sign players when I look at it with where they want to go, because that way we keep the wages down, we keep people performing, and that would make a lot of sense to me. And it aligns with what we're doing, right? And obviously, look, one of the things that's changing here is, as I said many times, Jason Wilcox has been given a huge amount of trust, and it would likely be him and Vivell taking the role of director of football, right? Well, we've seen that this week, all the reports that Jason Wilcox is the one driving this Diego Leon signing. It's going to change the way we do business, because he's going to be pushing to get these players in. Because if you look at like what Madrid have done really well, right? And what Liverpool and some other clubs have done really well, and even Chelsea, is they have so many of these good young players, and City, to be fair, have good young players who are like there to be ready to take that step. And so I think it's going to change the way we do business. And I can see a world where we're getting a lot of these young players to be our backups, to rotate in, to learn, not to start, but to rotate in and learn so that they can take over. And so it will make us have to buy less signings, but it also means we'll stop buying old players. We'll stop buying old players because we need depth and we need emergency and solutions because we have the young players to do it. Leon's deal wouldn't be done till summer anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Yeah, and Salminho does look really good. Yeah, look, Rashford for 45 million and his wages off funds a massive amount of transfer. It just does, for sure. It absolutely does. If we can move Casemiro and his wages off, that funds a lot. If we can move when Eriksen leaves, that funds a lot. There's a lot of departures that are going to give us a big amount of space, and any sales on top of that is huge. But yeah, I think under Jason Wilcox and Vivell, we'll see us make, every area where we need signings, I think we'll see us make one of these young players, and then we'll also get a senior player in summer, right? So I think like At left back, we get a young player and we'll get a senior player and we'll look to sell. And that was, again, one of the reasons that Ashworth left. One of the big disagreements they had, they wanted to be a lot more ruthless. So when you look at like a Lyon signing, right, what does it tell you? It tells you, one, Tyrell Malacia is not long for this world. No offense, but he's not. He's playing because he's like the only available left back right now. He's not performing. He's probably not going to be good enough for us. It's just the truth. This was sort of the ruthlessness that they're talking about. You know, if Harry Amos isn't ready, let's sell him. We can put a buyback in there, but let's sell him. He can go and get senior football. Malacia can go. Shaw can go. So we'll get Lyon and another left back, and it'll be purely funded by all these sales. You know, at center back, we'll let go of Evans. We'll let go of Lindelof. And we'll make another signing there or two. In the midfield, we'll let Eriksson go. We'll try to sell Casemiro, and we'll try to sign 1 to 2 players there. But one of them could be Kone that we've already gotten. And it'll be the same across the board. So I would definitely keep an eye on that. We've signed a young left back. I'm just thinking about the young players that Wilcox has already signed. We got a young 6. That's good. So now we need a senior midfielder. We got a young left back. That's good. So now we need a senior left back. So maybe a young center back and a young attacker are next. And then a senior center back, a senior attacker, a senior center back, a senior midfielder, a senior attacker, and a senior fullback would be the 4 signings that we would make in addition to some of the younger profiles. That would make a lot of sense. And I'm not talking young, like, you know, these are fringe youth players that are playing already playing kind of at a senior level, right? Yeah, Tyler Dibbling or Quenda would be, I think those are starting to stand out. And the other thing with that is if you did sign Dibbling or Quenda, then you may not need a 10 because you can get Bruno Mount Ahmad might be enough there, you know, where you could get another young 10 or something like that. Wait, so no winter signings? No, we might make winter signings. We might make winter signings. Yeah, we might get a left back there. We still don't have a left back now. Yeah, and Ruben is good at giving youth a chance as well. Agreed. So I want to do like a new, like kind of a new rethought about chart a little closer to January to look at like what we've got and think with the new approach that Wilcox will want to take of, you know, having this better blend of young players and bringing our wages down. And developing for the long term as well. Because, yeah, look, like someone like Nippon could be a really good option for the 10 as well. If you want to go like fringe young player who probably is at a senior level instead of going and spending big at the 10. Because then if you signed Quenda in summer or Dibbling, then you'd have Ahmad, Nippon, Mount, Bruno, Rashford, Garnacho, all for the 10s. Well, then you could sell a couple and just keep who's performing. You know what I mean? Or Mastan Tuono rather than Nippon, right? Like, or Chris Rigg. You know what I mean? Like any of those 3 that we've kind of talked about. There might be more, but any of those 3 that we've talked about would be good in this category, right? Players who could probably make the step into that position. And then we could let go of whoever isn't performing by the end of the year and use that money to keep rebuilding the team. So yeah, real interesting. But I think, you know, we've got some good starters in a few positions, but we need a couple more and we definitely need some depth, but I'd rather we get young players like Wilcox has been targeting and signing than spending big money. And, you know, I don't want to see us signing more Erikssons and Casemiros and guys like that for depth. Like I really don't want to see that. That's for sure. So anyway, it's all rather interesting, but I think with the change of Ashworth, I'm going to reevaluate, obviously, some of the names and things that I've been hearing, but I have a strong suspicion, just based on my info, because it's been really accurate on Wilcox side of thing, that a lot of these young names I've been hearing are coming from closer to who he likes, you know, and who the type of players that he's been looking at, and who he might push us to get. And we're making a South American transfer. Can you believe it? Like, we're actually signing one of these young players from South America. So maybe we'll actually start to do more of these deals. I think it's just Wilcox has a lot of connections into these areas, including the championship. So Yeah. So let's keep an eye on it. It's definitely worth keeping an eye on Nippon, Mastantuono, and Chris Rigg, especially now with that to help add to our midfield or attacking tens kind of situation, because we're going to need to make signings there. But probably a young player makes the most sense, especially if we sign a right wing back as well, and that pushes Ahmad into the tens position. So yeah, interesting stuff there. So one signing there and one signing at right wing back could solve a whole bunch of problems for us. Yeah, I think Wilcox is going to be primarily doing the director of football role from a recruitment standpoint moving forward, alongside Vavell. Yeah, at least for now. And look, everybody's got to be judged based on their success, right? That's how it's going to work under Ineos. But so far, they've been incredibly impressed with Jason Wilcox. His frankness and his assessment of things has been tops. So, right now, if you were to ask me, I might think Kirkez, really good, by the way. I think Kirkez is somehow getting underrated, but that Bournemouth team is performing. They look really good. Areola is a really good coach, so I think Kirkez is a player who's learning to play in a proper team with a proper system. He's been really growing as a player, attacking the final thirds, getting involved in all of that too. He's a really good athlete as well. Very, very physically, physical flooring is quite high. So I think he'd be a good one. If you were to ask me now, I would say like Kirkez. Look, I get that about Dorgu. I have trust issues with players outside. I've seen more of Kirkez, so that's all. I've seen more of Kirkez, so that's why I'd say that. I've seen more of him in the Premier League. You know what I mean? Like, that's all I'm saying. I wouldn't say that I'm right or anything. Just I've seen more of him in the Premier League, so I feel like it's less risky. That's all. I know Dorgu's real popular at the moment, and I'm not saying he shouldn't be. I'm not saying he isn't better. He might well be. That's all. It's just I get worried about some of those risks that we've taken. Kirkez, I think, would be available for 35 million. But yeah, Kirkez, Braithwaite, I still think would be of interest. I don't really get those stories about Ashworth that have fuck all to do with Ashworth. United have been targeting Braithwaite since last summer, like the previous summer. Some of those stories, I don't even know if those stories came from anyone genuine, but we also made our offers for Braithwaite before Ashworth was in the door. But we've been tracking Braithwaite for like a year and a half. It has nothing to do with Dan Ashworth when we started watching him. Yeah, Ait-Nouri is good. Ait-Nouri is good too, for sure. Agreed. I'm happy with almost all the left back options. You talk about like Miguel Gutierrez, Kirkez, Ait-Nouri, Robinson, Dorgu. You give me any of them, I'm happy. Honestly, I think they're all quite good players. I think Kirkez, cost-wise, is probably the most realistic, though. Davies, yeah, I'd take him too. It just, obviously, it's unlikely, and it kind of remains unlikely. But I'd be really, really happy with that. I'd be happy with any of those players, really would. Braithwaite, I'd be happy with. I still have some concerns, but I think athletically he's really good, and yeah. And then Rigg, Mastantuono, or Nippon, and then Quenda or Dibbling. And I honestly think if you got those 4 deals done, it would make a huge difference, right? If you got those 4 deals done, like if you added Kirkez, Braithwaite, Quenda, or Dibbling, and one of those young 10s to the team, it would solve 80% of the problems we have and give us a platform for the future. And then I just think you need another midfielder in there. Yeah. Yeah. Semenyo from Bournemouth. Yeah. Yeah. So it's interesting. It's interesting times. It's interesting times. Let's look at the team. Let's look at the team you guys voted for. Where were we? Here we go. You guys voted for this last week. I'm inclined, like, this would be for the Derby now, right? I'm inclined to agree with this Right now, I think this is maybe our best front three in terms of performers. The midfield is obvious. This is obvious. I think it's a problem here, right? Do you get Mazraoui into the back lines? Do you have more pace here? Or do you keep him at wing back? But then if you put him here, you've got to play Dallo. And then I would stick Maguire in here. But otherwise, I think your vote last week's really not bad. I'd be surprised if it changes much. Yeah, maybe Garnacho here, Mazraoui here. Yeah, good point, Tyson. That might be the answer, right? That might be our best option for now. I'd be for that. Yeah. Yeah. So that's last week. Let's do this week. Let's see what you guys want. Yeah. Let's see what you guys want. Let's start from the top. Actually, you guys wanted me to start from the back. I'm going to start from the back. You guys wanted me to reverse it just to switch it up a little bit. See if it changes our outcome, changing the process. I don't think it's serious to vote for Bayandi here, even though Onana's had a couple of stinkers. All right, Onana's winning that one easily. I was always curious because some of you chatters, yep, and then let's put these, but it doesn't necessarily reflect the votes. Imagine Mazraoui could do a job at goalkeeper. Yeah, me too. Remember, this is who you want. James, if you look at yesterday's conceded goal, De Ligt has a shout to be a fault. Is there any young goalkeepers Ineos are looking at? Yes. Well, that was the other thing. Remember, I put that out that they were looking at James Trafford and asked him, but he's not joining. Or at least he wasn't. I haven't heard anything new on that, but as of the last time, it was a no. But they did look at him. They are looking at young goalkeepers. I don't know who, but that's another good point of somebody who we could take. That's another good point of someone of a position where we probably go for a young player. Yoro's going to win this. That's good. Well, I look for young keepers from maybe like Harrison. Yeah, you know, we've done odd things. Like, do we still have a buyback on the keeper we sent to Germany? What's his name? Because he's quality. Kovar? I know. Trafford at Old Trafford. Do we still have a buyback on Kovar? Because I might as well say, let's bring him back. If we have a buyback on him, that seems like good value for a backup goalkeeper. He's a good player. He's a good keeper. I think he's quite a good keeper. Yeah. If we have a buyback, that feels like that'd be the easiest option. For a backup. Homegrown, yeah. He's bad? I don't think he's bad. I thought he's done quite well. I've liked him whenever I've watched him, at least myself. All right, central center back. Let's see if Maguire can win this one. Maguire. I'm putting my it's gonna be close, but I'm putting my weight behind Maguire on this one, but I think the Lit will win again. It was like 60-40 last time. Not close enough for me to swing it, but I honestly think Maguire's the right choice. What do you mean no way Maguire against Holland? I can't vote, I know. Maguire was much better against Arsenal than De Ligt was against Forest. Think about that. That's the truth. Maguire was better against Arsenal than De Ligt was against Forest. And that is a fact. Underrated is Harry Maguire. Underrated. You will learn. You will see. Some of you are too many people's agendas against Maguire are too deep rooted. Like I said, though, I like both of them, and I think both could do a job as you know, depth in the occasional starter. But I think we need two center backs for starting in general, long term. None of our center backs can beat Haaland in a foot race. Maybe Euro. None of our center backs can beat Haaland in a foot race. But Maguire has a better chance of beating him in the air. I'll tell you that much. Zion Suzuki, yeah, I think he's a good performer. If we're still interested in him, I'd like us to sign him. Yeah, Maguire's done really well whenever he's played recently. I like him. I like him. I figured De Ligt will win, but you know, it is what it is. It's all good, guys. I respect the opinion on this. I totally do. I respect the opinion. De Ligt's gonna win the vote for sure, but and the truth about this whole leaking situation is that, you know, Ruben Amorim watches these votes. We discuss who to pick, and then he sends it out randomly on Twitter. That's the truth. In case you wanted to know. Okay. Yada da da da. Remember, one of the things we thought about was Mazraoui at left center back and Garnacho at left wing back. But I imagine that the chat is going to vote for Lissandro at left center back and Mazraoui at left wing back. And I understand that too. Who is City's right winger these days? Like, who actually starts on the right for them? Savinho? I guarantee not one person has guessed a team yet since, yeah. With Ten Hag, I could guess it like every week, but Amorim's confusing so far. Do I know who the leak is? I discussed it at the beginning. It's not the leak. You know what I mean? And it's not like that. That's why it's sort of silly. Like, it's not the leak. Team has leaked to multiple people many times over the last years via multiple people. There's so many people who end up knowing. Trying to pinpoint it as the leak might find you who's talking to like one account or two accounts. But what about the other 10, 15, 20? What about the ones that are giving it to the papers? What about the ones that are giving it to the betting companies? What about the ones that are giving it to the other clubs? The ones that matter. That's why it's pointless to discuss. All right, Lissandro wins this one. So you guys are going to end up voting for the same team, aren't you? You're at bastards, because there's no way that Mazraoui's not getting into this team. It's going to be the same team as last week. See, the ones where that gets to Twitter, they don't gain anything out of it, and it's not really on purpose, and it's like, it's just it's just conversational type stuff that gets out there. The damaging ones are the ones that are getting to the other teams and are being sold and things like that. That's why I don't care, because it's like it's focusing on the wrong things. The ones that are damaging are not the ones that we know about. They're not the ones that are getting to little accounts on Twitter. That's why I just don't care. Those are the leaks the club should be worried about and try to fix. Hopefully. For me, the solution is don't tell anybody the team until you're like arrive at the stadium. But I can see why that's problematic. But once you have a settled team, then I don't think it matters very much. Once you have a settled team, then I don't think it bothers. It's a problem after that. Like, I don't think everybody needs to know it well ahead of time. Once you're settled into your you know, your way of playing. We'll put Anthony in here in case people want to vote for him and get Ahmad into the front three. But I used to leak when I was in Sunderland Academy. Rico. And how would you leak, Rico? Would you just be chatting with people on Instagram or something like that? I think some people are voting for Anthony because they want to see Ahmad in the front three. Alejandro. Like, I think that would be the thought process there. I'm pretty positive we're just going to end with the same team as last week, though. Which might be the first time. That might be the first time. Might be the first time. I think it is actually the first time. If we end with the same team, then it's going to be the first time that we've ever had back-to-back. Which is interesting because it means at the very least, as fans, we're seeing a system that is giving us a picture that is allowing us to determine who's the best players. You know what I mean? Like, you know, you get what I mean by that a little bit? Like, we're seeing a consistency in the team that allows us to say, okay, this is our best players, and these are our worst players, and this is who's performing, and this is who's not, because there's a consistency in the system, in the setup, that there are players that are becoming clear. And I think that's why as a fan, as a group, we can see more, we can all think more clearly. We might disagree on like one or two positions, but I think most of us finally agree on the team. For the most part, I would think, you know, and that it's not our ideas aren't changing that much. All right, 67 minutes, nice. 67 votes. Because in general, I agree with this team. I think it's close between De Ligt and Maguire. I'd still like to try Garnacho here and Mazraoui here, but I think we're pretty dang close on this. So let's go right 10, right wing. What? Did I miss an option here? I don't think so. Yeah, I mean, the consistency in these votes is wild. Outside of like the little Maguire De Ligt thing, the votes have been really clear, you know? Well, he's already in at right wing back, you know? So I can't put him in 2 votes. I mean, these votes are like explicitly clear. I wonder about how people feel about Bruno, but I imagine that he's going to win the vote pretty obviously. Interesting. Not surprising, but interesting. Yeah, and I think you can see, like, even though Bruno and Mount won these votes quite clear, I think you can sit there and say we might need better here, right? We might need better here. And then this is going to be the most obvious vote in history as well, quite honestly. I'll just keep Rashford in there because he has played as a 9. Yeah, I mean, I think this has been as clear as it gets, and that's real interesting. I think that's kind of what I was looking at is it's becoming to me pretty clear what our best team is. I think as fans as well, and that's a positive of this system. I would like us to see us field this team and just stick with it. And then you can rotate little things like, switch out one of the 10s if they're not performing for someone else and try to get someone going. Switch things like Garnacho into there and Mazraoui into the back line. Switch Maguire in, do little changes as needed, but keep it together. And that's probably what we've got. And then, yeah, I mean, this is it. Same team. So you guys did the same, right? If I flip back, no changes, right? Yep, same team. Yeah. And then, as I said, you get another, you sign left backs, you sign a left center back, and you figure out a 10. And then you need depth. But these 3 positions, I would say you need starters. Right now, you don't have starters in here. Yeah, agreed, DB. That's the issue. Like I'm as big a fan as Rashford as anybody, but it doesn't deserve to start on current form, on current effort, on current and whatever. He just doesn't deserve to start. Yeah, he's played himself in front of the bench. It's just a fact. So, yeah, I would say you need 3 starters in this team at the least. And then you need a lot of depth because it falls off hard in certain spots when you start to rotate. Yeah, interesting. It's up to him and the club based on how he performs, Sean. I mean, it's really just down to that. If it's still a lot of season left. It's up to where he feels he is at the end of the season and where the club feels he is at the end of the season. But we'll probably see by March, April if they're going to make plans to sell him, not January. Most of that team gets into Amorim's Sporting team. I think it might be overrating Sporting a little bit. Yoro, Delict are better than Diomande and his right center back. Ahmad is probably at equal or better to Quenda. Ugarte's better than Hjulmand. Mainu is better than who he has there, Morita. Hoyland, probably not better than Jokeres, but he's good. I think it's about 5 or 6. Sporting have lost 4 in a row since Amorim left, so that squad suddenly doesn't look so amazing anymore once the manager's gone. Interesting how that works. What about an inverted left winger like Diao as an option? Yeah, that's an interesting idea. Interesting idea. But no, look, I think it's obvious when you look at this that we all know who our best team is. That doesn't mean it's the best team. It just means that's what we've got. And we know where the question marks are in that team for sure. Do it the other way. What Sporting players make it into United? Yeah, Jokeres, maybe Inacio, but he's got a lot of the similar weaknesses to Lissandro and strengths. Quenda could get in there, but not necessarily over Ahmad. It would just move Ahmad. Yeoman would be a good backup. I really can't. You know who I really do like, though, is Maxi Araujo. I like Maxi Araujo from there as a left wing back option. If we decide to not go for like a major senior left wing back, Maxi Araujo as a left 10 who also plays left wing back is an interesting idea. If we did want to get somebody from there, really interesting young player, has an incredible engine on him. I would consider him. Yeah, I would if we want to keep, like, if we don't want to spend, you know, if we want a player who's flexible, you know, he's 24. Yeah, I would consider him. He's very, very flexible as a depth signing. I'm not saying as a starter, but as a like if we moved on, let's say like Garnacho and Rashford and etc., and then we should sign 2 10s, and that would be for me Araujo. Like Araujo would be good as one of those because he can play at left wing, he can play at left wing back, and then you sign another player as well. I'm not saying like the long-term starter. Don't get me wrong. But he's a quality player who can do it all. And he's really solid. Yeah. I'm not saying he's better than Rashford Garnacho, but he'd be a young, you know, cheaper wages, and as a good depth player there, who could cover some of those positions and give flexibility. I think you could use some of those types of players who's going to give you a solid baseline every game. Yeah, he knows the systems, all that. Like, he would be a cheaper signing on low wages that I think gives you a good idea, not for the starter, but for another option to keep rounding the squad out with that on that side. More players who can fit. Is the story that Garnacho's unsellable true? No, and I don't think it said that. I think it was like they'd rather not. And I think that's completely correct. They would 100% rather not sell Garnacho and hope that he can develop and continue to grow as a player. He's young, obviously talented. Why do you not rate Diomande? I don't. I think I've watched Sporting a lot more than most people who I think I've watched Sporting a lot more than most people. Let's put it that way. Leave it at that simple. And Diomande is a player who has an enormous number of mistakes in him. Like, people complain about mistakes that like guys like Maguire make. Diomande makes mistakes so often. I could not sign a player like that for United. I think he could make a move to a lower league or mid-table Premier League club, maybe first, and see if he gets those mistakes out of him. But he is super unreliable in that respect. Big mistakes very often. My experience, almost every time I watch him, he makes some major mistakes. He has good traits, but he's got immense bozo gene. Yeah, that's why I don't rate him. I don't want to sign that. I don't think his positive traits make up for that. Adam Wharton, good point. I forgot about him, but yes, if he's had a rough season, he needed a surgery, right? If he comes back and performs well, then that would be a good option for deep as well. You could do a lot, but we'll see how he performs. A lot of clubs are looking at him before. If he comes back and actually improves, that would be great. Then he would be an option. I don't know anything about whether Stiller, yeah. If we have a good clear out across January and summer windows, depends on Champions League too. 100. I mean, I think we'll spend somewhere around 150, but I don't know. Yeah, it's a bit too early to say. It really does depend on those sales, though. Like, because one sale of a major player, like if Casemiro goes or doesn't go, makes a big difference. If Rashford would go or doesn't go, makes a huge difference. If, you know, there's a lot of things like that. We need to get Champions League. Yeah. Yep. Yep. We need to win Europa. I think it would make a massive difference. Won't commitments to new stadium eat up future budgets? It shouldn't. The way they want to do it, it shouldn't. Yeah, if we win, like I think we'll see the opposite of what we've seen, like with the Glazers, right? When we would qualify for CL, then they would not spend. We'll see the opposite. If we qualify for CL, they're gonna spend every fucking red cent that they have within PSR restrictions to build to get us to keep us in Champions League because it is worth so much money, and it is like viewed as a vital necessity. Yeah, Schlotterbeck is a good center back. He is. He is. Okay. Yeah, been an hour, 16 minutes. I'm gonna leave it at that. Get to work. I'll be there Sunday for the watch along. So I hope we'll see you there. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of your Friday. Enjoy your weekends. Hopefully we have a hopefully we put up a good fight in the derby. And you know, it's not like City aren't beatable right now. They very much are. So hopefully we can pull something off and succeed. We need these players to step up. Thank you all for hanging out with me. Thanks for being here. I hope you're all doing well, and I will see you in our next video or on Sunday. Okay.